London. So Harry is in a bit of a pickle, isn't he? This whole saga with the British tabloids is spiraling fast. You've got the Duke of Sussex fully fired up about holding the press accountable, specifically Associated Newspapers Limited, the publishers behind the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday. He's been on a crusade, claiming they illegally gathered information about him, but the case now appears to be collapsing right before our eyes. And here's the kicker. Key members of his legal team have jumped ship and resigned. That's not a minor setback. That's like your star quarterback walking off the field mid-game. Insiders say it wasn't just a reshuffle, it was a strategic retreat. They saw the writing on the wall, a sinking ship, and all that. The major turning point seems to have been the start of the trial. Harry made sweeping accusations, illegal activity, conspiracies, the whole 9 yards. But then the defense began firing back with some serious counterpunches, getting deeply personal. That's when things really started to unravel for him. He has effectively accused 2 royal journalists, Rebecca English of the Daily Mail and Katie Nicholl, of criminal behavior, alleging they unlawfully dug up information on him and his circle. But Associated Newspapers hit back hard, presenting a very different version of events and painting a picture that sharply contradicts Harry's claims. They're now arguing that Harry isn't some innocent victim of shady press tactics at all, but that he actively participated in the very system he's condemning. In other words, they say he played the game. Much of the focus has landed on the allegations against Katie Nicholl, the former diary editor of the Mail on Sunday and a well-known television commentator. The defense insists she wasn't some covert operative snooping around behind the scenes. Instead, they claim she was personally invited by Harry to a private party in 2011 at Kensington Roof Gardens. According to their account, the two stayed in touch afterward, moving within the same social circles. That's a far cry from a criminal conspiracy. Then came the real sting. According to the defense, Nicholl's response to Harry's accusations was blunt and unmistakable. "No, Harry, you invited me to come and party with you." Ouch! That statement alone cuts deeply into his victim narrative. It reframes the dispute as a personal grievance against someone he actually knew and socialized with, suggesting a complicated relationship rather than clear-cut criminal harassment. The claims involving Rebecca English follow a similar pattern. Harry's lead lawyer, David Sherburne, pointed to a 2010 email in which English allegedly sought flight details for Harry's then-girlfriend, Chelsea Davy, from a private jet company. Sherburne argued this proved she was using illegal methods to obtain information. The defense quickly dismantled that claim, countering that the email showed nothing unlawful. They emphasized English's long career as a legitimate journalist and her professional access during Harry's time as a working royal, access that would naturally place her in proximity to such information without any criminal conduct. Taken together, the impact on Harry's case is severe. The journalists are humanized, portrayed as professionals doing their jobs, while Harry appears increasingly driven by a personal vendetta, exaggerating claims and blurring the line between routine journalism and genuine criminal behavior. The toll has been visible in the courtroom. Harry looks strained, visibly older, weighed down by the process. And the irony is hard to miss. The man who spent years railing against press intrusion now sits under the full glare of global scrutiny, in a courtroom where every expression is watched, as he attempts to dismantle the careers of journalists, while the world watches his every move. And the fact that his legal team is bailing out, that's huge. It signals a total loss of confidence in his case. One legal analyst put it bluntly, when solicitors walk away like that, it's usually because they believe their client's instructions are unsustainable or the evidence has completely collapsed. They're not abandoning the law. They're abandoning Harry's version of events. It's brutal, but that's the reality. For Harry, this is a disaster, plain and simple. This case was meant to be the cornerstone of his and Meghan's broader crusade against the UK media. They framed it as a moral battle, good versus evil. But if it falls apart, it's not just a legal loss. It's a massive symbolic blow. It undermines Harry's credibility and reinforces the narrative that he's simply unable to handle press scrutiny. And then there are the legal bills. If he loses, he could be on the hook for enormous costs. Worse still, it risks cementing a public perception of him as relentlessly combative, someone who can't distinguish between legitimate criticism and genuine malice. Thin-skinned, unable to take the heat. Meanwhile, the journalists are emerging in a far more favorable light. They're no longer the faceless villains Harry painted them to be. They're established professionals defending their reputations. Katie Nicholl, who has recently beaten cancer, and Rebecca English, a seasoned royal correspondent who has covered the monarchy for years, are fighting back. They argue that Harry's narrative is nonsense, that he's rewriting history to cast himself in a better light. The entire trial has shifted in tone. It's no longer just about what these journalists may or may not have done a decade ago. It has become a referendum on Harry's judgment, his relationship with the truth, and whether this lawsuit is simply a personal war dressed up as principle. And the lawyers walking away? That may be the clearest sign yet that he's losing. The image of Harry sitting in the courtroom was stark. He looked miserable, diminished, like a child wearing a suit that doesn't quite fit. This was supposed to be his defining moment, his chance to finally strike back at the tabloids. Instead, it's spiraling into a very public unraveling. And where is Meghan in all of this? An ocean away in Montecito. Radio silence. No public show of support. No hand-holding as he walks into court. Nothing. For a couple who built their entire brand on an us-against-the-world narrative, her absence is deafening. It speaks volumes. Harry uprooted his family and crossed continents to protect them, yet now he stands alone, facing the consequences. Sources describe the atmosphere around Harry as tense and despondent. The resignation of his legal team wasn't just a tactical setback. It was a warning sign, and perhaps the beginning of the end of this fight. It was a clear vote of no confidence. Their departure amounts to a blunt message. They believe the case is a loser. And that leaves Harry exposed, not just legally, but emotionally. His misery in court isn't only about facing tough questions. It's about watching his entire identity, his carefully constructed sense of righteous victimhood, being dismantled in public. The testimony has been relentless. It directly challenges his claim of being unilaterally persecuted by the press. Accounts of him inviting Katie Nicholl to parties and maintaining social contact paint a far more complex picture. They suggest he wasn't merely a target of the media machine, but at times an active participant who also benefited from it. Having your past publicly reinterpreted like that has to be deeply disorienting. Harry isn't just fighting a newspaper group, he's fighting a version of his own history. And he's losing. This entire episode exposes a major contradiction in Harry's post-royal life. He and Meghan built an empire on their personal narrative, monetizing their story through documentaries, books, and podcasts. Yet when the most consequential legal chapter of that story is being written, he's standing alone. Meghan's absence looks less accidental and more strategic, a quiet retreat. She has had her own battles with the press, but she appears to have decided that this is Harry's fight to wage, and perhaps to lose. The emotional toll on him is visible. His posture, his distant stare, the absence of the defiant energy he once projected, it all speaks volumes. He looks miserable, trapped between two worlds, the one he was born into, which he says rejected him, and the one he built, which now seems unwilling to support him. That California dream looks very far away. Ultimately, Harry's misery is a symptom of a much larger strategic failure. He tried to import the dynamics of a royal feud, where statements, symbolism, and sympathetic media can shape outcomes, into a court of law. But a courtroom doesn't care about narratives. It cares about evidence, cross-examination, and cold, hard facts. Meghan, the architect of their media strategy, isn't there because there is no media strategy left to execute. What remains is a legal case, and it's unraveling. The judge, the press gallery, and the empty chair where Meghan should be sitting all converge into a single, crushing pressure. Harry wanted to be seen as a warrior for justice. Instead, he looks like a stranded soldier. His allies have gone. His fortress has been revealed for what it truly is, solitary. This misery isn't just personal. It's the consequence of a campaign that confused publicity with power and confession with credibility. And in a court of law, neither is enough. Okay, let's strip away the legal jargon and the royal theatrics for a moment and talk about what this really means. This entire episode is a masterclass in how not to handle a PR crisis and, frankly, how not to operate as a public figure in the 21st century. Harry is playing this like it's still the 1990s, as if crying "invasion of privacy" automatically earns public sympathy for the poor, put upon Prince. But the world doesn't work that way anymore. Audiences are savvier. They spot hypocrisy quickly, and they don't appreciate being lectured by someone who has made millions selling his own personal story to Netflix and publishers. The irony is impossible to ignore. Harry is suing tabloids for invading his privacy while simultaneously monetizing every intimate detail of his life. You simply can't have it both ways. You can't condemn the press while using that same press ecosystem to build a lucrative personal brand. And then there's Meghan's absence, which is telling. They've presented themselves as a united power couple, standing shoulder to shoulder against the world. Yet when things turn genuinely difficult, she's nowhere to be seen. It looks calculated, like a quiet distancing from a situation that's turning toxic. Whatever the intention, it doesn't project loyalty or unity. It certainly doesn't scream ride or die. At this point, Harry has lost the narrative and with it, public sympathy. He's boxed himself into a corner and is now lashing out at everyone around him. The result isn't principled or courageous. It comes across as bitter, entitled, and deeply out of touch. The resignation of his legal team compounds the damage. That's not just a legal setback, it's a full-blown PR disaster. It signals that even his own lawyers don't believe in the case, or worse, that they found his position unreasonable and unsustainable. When the professionals you're paying to defend you walk away, the optics are devastating. None of this is to say the tabloids are innocent. They're not. They can be aggressive, invasive, and ruthless. But Harry's approach is backfiring spectacularly. He's not winning hearts or minds. He's not reforming the media. He's only damaging his own credibility. And the most striking part? This was all avoidable. He could have ignored the tabloids. He could have focused on charity work, on building a quieter life, on moving forward. Instead, he chose to wage war, and now he's paying the price. It's a cautionary tale. Fame and fortune don't guarantee peace or happiness, and sometimes the strongest move is simply to walk away. But Harry can't let go. He seems obsessed with proving himself right, even if it means self-destruction. At this stage, it's difficult to feel sympathy. He made his choices. Now he has to live with them, even if that means sitting alone in a wood-paneled London courtroom, under the glare of the global spotlight, as everything unravels. Call it what it is, an epic self-inflicted failure. A mess of his own making, and one he doesn't seem close to escaping.